Hello, everyone. Let's continue our training through Module 1, ATCO Live. And in this lesson, we are going to focus on how to talk about your routine in English, right? As an air traffic controller, you perform many tasks every day, and describing these tasks clearly is an important communication skill. To do that, we need to use the correct structure, especially the simple present. So, throughout this lesson, you see how to organize your ideas and express your routine in a clear and natural way. Let's start with an example here. So this is a description of a controller's routine, right? Notice that the speaker uses short, clear sentence, and each sentence adds a new piece of information. So the ideas are connected, right, and easy to follow. This is what makes an answer more complete and informative. So let's look more closely at how these sentences are built, right? See? So we use the simple present to talk about routines, facts, and responsibilities. These are things that happen regularly or are always true in your job. So, for example, here, okay, I work in approach control. I deal with arrivals. I check the radar. See, all these sentences describe actions that are part of a routine, okay? So, this is why the simple present is the most important tense when talking about your job. In all the examples we just saw, the structure is the same. We use the subject followed by the base form of the verb. This is how we form the simple present in affirmative sentences. See? I work, we deal, they control. Okay? When we use he or she, we add s or es to the verb, right? So this is an important detail that shows control of the structure, right? So remember, base form for most subjects and s or es, okay, for the third person. Some examples here. Here he works, right? She controls, and so on. Very good. So far, we have been talking about what we do in our routine, okay? And what about the things we don't do? Because in real communication, we also need to talk about what we do not do, right? So, for example, you may not work at night, or you may not deal with certain types of operations, right? So, seeing these examples here, I don't like to work at night, right? He doesn't deal with ground operations. So, to form negative sentences, we use do not or does not, right? So, for the first example here, we use do not, okay? For I, you, we, and they. Okay, so you see, I do not work. We don't control. See, and we use does, okay, when we are dealing with the third person. So, for example, he does not work or she doesn't control. And remember, the main verb returns to the base form. See? Very good, very good. So, now that we can talk about what we do and what we don't do, we also need to understand and respond to questions about our routine. Okay? So, are you ready to answer? Let's look at these examples here. Do you work at night? Do you deal with emergencies? Does he work on shift? So, to form questions in the simple present, we use do at the beginning of the sentence. So, we use do with subjects I, you, we, and they. Okay. And then we add the subject and the base form of the verb. So, do I work? Do you control? And so on. Notice that the verb stays in the base form, right? The verb stays in the base form. Very good. And let's look at questions with starting with does, right? So we use does with the subjects he, she, and it. Right? So the structure is the same, but the idea here changes a little bit because does, the subject, and the base form of the verbs. Okay. So does he work? Does she control? The main verb returns to the base form, right? Again, the verb stays in the base form. So this is essential for understanding questions and giving clear answers. Got it? Moving on. So far, we've seen how to describe what we do and how to understand questions about our routine. Okay. Um, but in real communication, this is usually not enough. When we're talking about our routine, we don't just say what we do. Okay. We also explain how often we do it. This helps make our message clearer and more realistic. Okay. So now let's see how we can add this extra information here. Okay. So let's look at these sentences. I usually monitor traffic during peak hours. I often coordinate with adjacent sectors. I sometimes handle unexpected situations. And I rarely deal with emergencies. So these sentences describe real situations in a controller's routine. Now focus on these words: usually, often, sometimes, rarely. Those words add important information, okay? They tell us how frequently these actions happen. Without them, the sentences are correct, but with them, the message becomes more complete and more realistic, okay? So these specific words are called adverbs of frequency. They show how often something happens. So now let's organize them from most frequent to least frequent, right? So always means something that happens all the time. Usually means most of the time, okay? Often means frequently. Sometimes means occasionally. Rarely means not very often. And never means it does not happen, okay? So this helps you choose the right word depending on your real routine. Very good. Now, let's look at these sentences here. I usually monitor traffic during peak hours. I often provide instructions to pilots. Okay. I am usually responsible for coordinating or coordination in this case. And he's always calm during high traffic situations. In both cases, the verb is to be, and here the adverb comes after the verb. Okay. So now we can clearly see that there are two patterns here: before the main verb and after the verb to be, right? So let's organize it a little bit, the rule clearly here for you to understand, okay? So in most sentences, the adverb comes before the main verb, as you see here in this slide, right? So I always work, we often control, and so forth, okay? And and when we are using the verb to be to structure our sentence, you see that the adverb comes after the verb to be. So I am always, you are never, and so on. Okay, got it? Very good. Now let's compare some sentences here and see if you got it right. Okay, so I sometimes handle emergencies, sorry, or I usually handle emergencies every day. So we may choose one of them as correct, okay, and the other wrong, because when we are seeing here, when we were talking about if it is true or false, right? I sometimes handle emergencies. I think it is better put than you say I usually handle emergencies, okay? Sometimes when we're talking about frequency, right? Let's see some more. He often deals with traffic, okay? Or he always deal with high traffic we're talking, right? So we he always deals with high traffic sounds too absolute, right? A more natural option is he often deals with high traffic, okay? Very good. And what about this one? I rarely coordinate with other sectors, or I never coordinate with other sectors. I think this is easy, okay? A better option would be I rarely, because never it is too intense, right? to use it. So choosing the correct adverb is not only about grammar; it's about describing your routine in a realistic and meaningful way. Okay. So let's look at more complete and natural answer for from our Sergeant Roger here. Okay. So I work in approach control, and I mainly deal with arrivals and departures. I usually monitor traffic during peak hours and coordinate with adjacent sectors to ensure a safe flow of aircraft. I also check weather conditions regularly because they can affect operations. Sometimes I have to handle unexpected situations, especially when there are changes in weather or traffic. However, I don't usually work at night, since my shifts are mostly during the day. Notice how this answer flows as one complete idea. So these sentences are connected using words like and, also, because, and, however. So these connectors help organize the information and make the speech more natural. So the speaker still uses simple structures, but adds more detail and link ideas together. This is what makes the answer clearer and more complete. Okay? Very good. So let's review what we've learned, okay? We started by talking about what we do. Then we learned how to ask and answer questions about our routine, okay? After that, we added adverbs of frequency to explain how often things happen. And finally, we combine everything, sorry, to build more complete and natural answers. So let's review some main points here. The simple present structure here for you again if you like to take a closer look. So, guys, this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for being here with me through this lesson, and I hope seeing you again in the future. Bye bye.